Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our second week at looking at Mount Vesuvius for topic. Okay, today we're going to be looking more at Pompeii, which you'll remember from our first video, and you were all very excited about the statues and learning about the statues. Okay, we're going to be looking a bit more about that today. So let's read the learning objective together then. I can understand the events of Mount Vesuvius's eruption in 79 AD. Okay, we're going to look at the events and how it happened in a chronological order. And you'll remember chronological from our Stone Age timeline. Okay, so let's have a look then. Okay, so Mount Vesuvius erupted on the 24th of August in 79 AD for the first time in hundreds of years. And the people who were living in the cities nearby to the volcano near Mount Vesuvius, it was very bad for them. Okay, there were terrible consequences. Okay, so we know, don't we, from last week that it's in the Gulf of Naples in Italy. Okay, and it destroyed the cities of Herculaneum and Pompeii, and it killed a lot of people, didn't it? And lots of villages were totally destroyed. Okay, so it says Pompeii was the larger of the two cities, but both of them were filled with shops, houses, and other types of buildings and businesses in the Roman Empire. So people's whole lives were destroyed. Okay, so in the days leading up to the eruption then, a few days before the 24th of August, lots of these tremors were starting to be able to be felt by the people in the cities. Okay, so they could feel the vibrations, they could feel things starting to shake. Okay, but there had been lots of tremors happening before this time as well. So the people in the city sort of ignored it and didn't really think anything of it. Okay, and it said life in Pompeii continued as normal. So no one really cared that the tremors happened. It didn't really alarm them. But little did they know, they should have cared a bit more. Okay, so on the morning of the 24th of August then, it was the first eruption phase. Okay, and it started with a very small explosion. So tremors were still felt by the people in the cities, and they've got this thin ash cloud. Okay, so lots of that ash that we talked about started to spread out across the cities. But even though this was happening, the people in the cities still didn't really feel that alarmed by it. Okay, they were still quite calm. They still didn't take much action. We'll see how it progressed now. Okay, so in the early afternoon then, about 1 p.m, things started to get a bit more serious. Okay, Vesuvius erupted violently. What do I mean by that word, violently? Good job if you're explaining to me that it was aggressive, okay? It was very aggressive and it went, it was violent. Super, okay? So a massive ash cloud was expelled up to 20 kilometers high, okay? And to give you a reference, if you think of a meter that we've been doing, okay, think of that meter stick, okay, it was 20,000 of those meter sticks high. So very, very tall, isn't it? We know that it was expelled a huge way by lots of force. Okay, the whole sky turned black as the cloud was carried southeast to Pompeii, and then the whole city plunged into darkness. Okay, so you imagine you're sat in your house and you hear that huge explosion, and then you see all the ash come out, and suddenly it starts to go completely black and in darkness. Think about how scary that would have been for the people living in Pompeii at the time. Okay, so about an hour later then, lots of panic started to spread across the city. People were really scared because all of the ash and the pumice, which is another word for stones, were falling dramatically onto the city. And you can see in the picture there, you can see the little girl starting to run in the streets and all of the rocks around her being fired out by the volcano. It says rocks and debris began to land on rooftops, buildings, and on the streets. Look. Okay, so they're all feeling quite scared now. It's getting quite serious and scary. So later on then, at midnight on the 25th of August, the volcanic cloud reached its peak, and estimated over 30 kilometers high in the air. So that big cloud you can see in the picture was up to 30 kilometers in the air. And for reference again, that is 30,000 meter sticks tall. Okay, so you can try and picture that in your heads. Very, very tall, wasn't it? Okay, it says the cloud began to plummet back down to the earth, okay? So the cloud was rising and then it just started to fall. And as it did, the pyroclastic surge, and that pyroclastic, remember, means that lots of stones and ash and all that force of all of those things combined with hot gas from the lava and the fire inside the volcano, okay, they started to head towards the city of Herculaneum. And as it did, it killed lots of people who were living there. Okay, it's thought that it went at a speed of 350 miles per hour. Okay, so normally when we're driving on the roads in your cars, you're driving at about 30 miles per hour along the streets. So you imagine 350 miles per hour is very, very fast. Okay, you wouldn't stand a chance against this. So imagine how scary it would have been for the people. Okay, then on the 25th of August at early morning, so just gone midnight, it's about 2 a.m., the eruption cloud collapsed once again. So the cloud had built up again and it collapsed once again. Okay, Mount Vesuvius released not just a second, but also a third eruption, okay, which was even stronger than the last one. And the surge with all of that lava and rock and ash was sliding down and coming even closer and closer to Pompeii. So it already reached Herculaneum and it was coming for Pompeii now. And you can see in the picture the people are fleeing, aren't they? They're trying to get away, but look at all of the rock and the ash that's been fired at them. A lot of them might not stand a chance. Okay, a few hours later then, the cloud above Mount Vesuvius collapsed again. So a fourth time this time. So a fourth surge again of that rock and that gas was released and travelled with even more force to Pompeii this time and killed everyone who was still there and hadn't got away. Okay, it destroyed any buildings, any houses that were left, and that thick darkness was still around. It was really hard to see because of all of that ash. So 4 times it erupted across the 2 days. It must have been very scary for all of those people. And we remember that that thick ash, okay, was bigger than 3 meters tall. So lots of people would have just drowned inside the ash and it would have stopped them from breathing. So really not a very nice way to die. Okay then, so later on in the morning around 8 a.m, additional surges, okay, so it just keeps going, it doesn't stop, it's sending out these surges, keep bringing more rock and gas and debris down into Pompeii. So by this time it's already covered and there just keeps piling more and more on top of it. Because by the end of the entire eruption process, the city was completely buried under tons of volcanic material. If you look in the picture, you'll be able to spot all the rocks and the ash and the places that were on fire from the heat. Okay, so it was a complete mess. Nothing was left completely destroyed. Okay, so now that we've understood how the eruptions occurred, I want you to fill in the sheet and you're going to pretend that you're stood a safe distance away and you're watching Mount Vesuvius erupt. Okay, so you're not in Pompeii, don't worry, you're not going to be killed by the volcano. You're stood across the bay, so you're further away. You're not going to be hurt, okay, you're safe. But I want you to think about what you could hear if you could listen closely. Could you hear people crying or screaming? Could you hear things rustling or buildings crumbling, okay? What can you see? Can you see a lot? Because you've got that thick ash cloud, so things might be quite dark, might they? But if you can you see the flames burning? Okay, tell me what you can see. I also want you to think about what you can feel. Can you feel some of those tremors coming from the volcano? Okay, and also what you can smell. Do you think it would smell like burning? Maybe you could smell lots of the buildings or the ash, okay? All of those burning smells. All right, have a think about it. I would love to see what you come up with this on your portfolios. Very interested to see them, okay? And we shall come back to Mount Vesuvius next week, maybe even learning some more about Pompeii. Okay, so have a lovely afternoon filling this in, and I shall see you soon. Bye, everyone.